We're a bit late. I'm sorry. A couple of issues this evening, but we're all good and raring to go. Good evening, my friend Johnny Rowe. How are you, my friend?
Good, mate. Good. Yeah, my fault tonight. People had a charity meeting that ran a little bit late, so I'm 10, 12 minutes late. So apologies for that. Purely my fault.
By charity meeting, you meant you were just a bit late from the pub, right?
Well, yeah, it's a charity to the Lion Nathan Corporation, really. No, we're doing a wonderful event up here in June to bring people together from all walks of life, particularly the otherwise abled. And that's what tonight's meeting was all about, just sorting that all out. But on to the footy.
Mate, how good was it for you? First time you've been to the footy probably in 18 months.
Yeah, well, the last time I went to the footy was with you and a few of the others and watched the pre-season game, Collingwood game, where it was the 19 quarters or whatever it was. I think that's the last game of footy I've seen live. So it was lovely to be there, but Jesus, it was a crap game.
Well, you were right onto the action, so you've got some first-hand, I suppose, knowledge of the conditions and what played out. Yeah, it was a crap game. I put up something straight after the game: 4 points, move on, which is pretty much how it was. 4 points, thank you very much. We'll take that every day of the week. Every Carlton supporter will take 4 points. And it really could have easily gone the other way for the couple of moments, particularly in that last quarter that saved our bacon. And I suppose playing any other team potentially, we might not have got away with that win. But we take it. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are a bit late. Steve Smerling, how are you, my friend? Blake O'Halloran says good evening. Tanya Dumanan, g'day, Tanya. John Stanford, hello to you. Thank you for tuning in. 2 weeks in a row, we've got the 4 points. We're sitting in 8th spot, I think.
7th, I think it is.
7th.
Look at my phone.
Either way, we're in the 8. We're higher than the filth, and we're higher than Richmond. How long that stays, I'm not sure will happen, but we'll certainly take the mantle while it's there for us.
Very pleasing to beat the end of the round, be in the 8. It was lovely, but we'll talk about this a little bit later, but how important are the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. Good evening to Peter Vlahos. A win summed up by Travolta's staying alive with a pacemaker, he says. Love your stuff, Pete. Chris Boberg says, thinking about coming to Melbourne this Saturday night game and staying Saturday night. I can recommend a few night spots to go out to, mate, if you're looking to come down. Paula Fitzpatrick, g'day, Paula, good friend of mine. Thank you for tuning in. Slad and I were there, Trev. Very disappointing game, even though we got the points. Yes, it was. We got those points for sure. Shane Matthews, g'day, Shane. Nice to see tonight's show with us inside the top 8, like we just said, and bring on the power. Was it a case, mate? Like I said, you were there. Was it a case of being potentially dragged down to the Gold Coast level? Are we at the Gold Coast level? Was it just really one of those nights where it was just a slog and we needed to get through it, and it was the intensity, I suppose, that was going to win the game? How did you see it from your vantage point?
Yeah, well, from where we were and even going outside, it didn't seem like it was really dewy and damp. But watching the play, you'd have to think that there was some sort of precipitation out there because that whole first quarter they looked like they were chasing around a bar of soap in the bathtub. But I think that their midfield did really, really well, and our midfield didn't do quite so well. We should have slaughtered them in the midfield, given that they didn't have a ruckman. But their ability to read the play, their midfielders to read the play off our taps was brilliant, and that's what really kept them in the game. Going forward, they had nothing. Their back line was pretty good. And, like I said, we just lost it in the midfield there.
Good evening to Anthony Walsh. Blake O'Halloran says we were a lot better, just the wet buggers. Brennan Whitford says 2 in a row, and yes, we will take that for sure. Nick Keskanidis, good evening to you, legend. You're one yourself. Thank you for tuning in. We're 7th, says Steve Smerling, and Tanya is 100% right. Staying in the 8 is very important. Look, a lot of players have made comment on playing on the Gold Coast. The humidity. I've heard from a few people that were there, watching us pre-game and even sort of in the start of that first quarter, said we looked a bit flat. I probably wouldn't be saying that they'd be flat. I think it's the humidity that knocked them around a bit. You might be able to comment to that, Johnny. You're from Melbourne. You'll know whether that has much of an impact on you being a Victorian up there. But certainly the conditions and I suppose the sweat and the humidity made that the ball tick around and again probably something our guys haven't experienced in sort of playing in those conditions for a while.
Yeah, look, I got to say it was quite mild, and it got cooler and cooler as the night went on with a lovely little breeze coming across. I don't know too much about that. Otherwise, I'm just acclimatised because we've had a very, very wet summer up here. So it might be that we're just a little bit more acclimatised than our southern counterparts. But, look, it didn't seem that bad, the conditions, to me. It felt like it should have been a good night for football. But, like my mate who always used to go to the footy with said, they shouldn't, at this time of year, they shouldn't do Saturday night games or any night games there. Make them during the day, Saturday or Sunday, and then you wipe these problems out because it was just a terrible display for the code.
Yep. Good evening to Jason Mark Phillips, who is from the beautiful and sunny Manchester. Fantastic part of the world. I've been to Manchester a couple of times. He's new to AFL, he says, and our kicking needs to improve. Well, if you're new to AFL, Jason, you've hit the nail on the head. You've just analysed us to a T, and I think someone else has said Richie Benikaza, our kicking for goal must improve. Let's talk about that. It's been brought up by Jason over there in the UK. Hope you're staying safe over there, mate. I know it's going through a few dramas, and condolences to the loss of the old Prince Philip over there. If you're a royalist,
typical Paul, mate, could make a ton.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough too. Boom, boom. The skills are obviously down across the board, so the conditions were having an impact from both teams. It was quite obvious. Again, the players have spoken about it. Again, a couple of people have mentioned, our goal kicking. It's just really, it's just abysmal. I watch a few games, most weeks. And, we've got to be down there in the low percentages of our goal kicking returns. It's just, I don't know what's going on down there. It's whether it's rot or what, I'm not sure.
Yeah, look, there were some shockers off the boot. Absolutely dreadful kicks. But I think both sides did them. We ended up, winning the game in points pretty much, didn't we? That succession of points in the last quarter put the result beyond doubt, I think.
Brandon Scott, g'day Scotty. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. The sweat, tackling, hard to collar someone. That's true. I think all of the indicative stats in terms of tackling, in terms of percentage of ball use, and all those kind of stats that relate to the ball handling were quite down. The only one that seemed to be doing so well was Liam Jones, who seems to have got gecko hands, and of course Sam Walsh, who just he could actually play with a bar of soap, that kid, because he just never fumbles.
Yeah, they were two standouts, and Jacob Wiedering, they'll throw in that as well. So these are pretty much my 3, 2, and 1. If we want to go early, it's Jones, Wiedering, and Walsh for me.
Yeah, good call. Let us know your best players on the weekend, everyone. Jonesy's probably hasn't put a foot wrong in his first 4 games for us. He's really controlling things down there. Wiedering gave old mate King a touch up, and he's got another scalp, of course. But they're really controlling things down there. Those two for us. liked SPS's game again. He seems to be. We talked about him last week, but he's getting more of the footy. Maybe it's confidence. I'm seeing more distance gained by running. So let's hope he can continue his run of form.
Yeah, I noted him on the day and just sort of thought, said this to my wife, watch out for this guy. He's due for a very, very big game soon. He's just out of votes for me with the Suns game, but seeing it live, you just see so much more in terms of running patterns and where people are putting themselves with the ball, and he just looks a lot more switched on, a lot more confident, and he's just getting to the right places at the right time. So look out for another Bulldogs game of 2 years ago. He's going to go mad in the next few weeks.
Yep. Nick and Frank, thanks for joining us, fellas. Mentioned Ed Curnow. Obviously, we know how fit Ed is and how he probably relished those conditions. He was able to sort of get to quite a few contests and make his presence felt across the ground. And, he's doing really well in the last few games in the midfield. I talked about probably maybe after the first game, the value of Ed and whether his possessions are, that damaging in terms of playing in the midfield. But, he really, got plenty of the ball, and I thought was a pretty good contributor on Saturday night.
Yeah, and you've had your tiny little slice of humble pie there. This is a Frank and Simone term. They talk about it on their show. I'm going to eat a pretty medium to large size piece of humble pie and say that Cotterill looked fantastic in the conditions as well, and he just ran all night. Again, probably when you see it live, you notice those things a lot more. And he was just trying all night. So medium to large slice for me. Thank you.
No, look, and I was one that agreed with you last week in terms of your commentary regarding him. If he keeps getting the ball and running, things are going to happen for him, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
I think he kicked a goal. As he gets more stable in the side, maybe his confidence will go up, and we'll see a bit more of his skills. I think that everyone would agree he's not the most skilled player in the side. But at the end of the day, what we need in our team is those blokes doing their role, and he's come in and is doing that role really, really well on the wing.
Oh, he's got heart, hasn't he? It's something that a few of our more fancy players have been wanting over the last few seasons. He's got heart. He's got a heart as big as Farlap.
He has indeed. Lots been talked about of JSOS, his game. That tackle was fantastic. We know that he's never out of the contest. Just really disappointing that he's got that shoulder. I don't know whether it's something that is going to continue this year or there was just a bad luck thing, but you should be able to lay a tackle like that and not get an injury. So clearly, there's something amiss there that might unfortunately mean surgery at some point.
Yeah, it did. You're right. That's what it looked like on the ground. That it was did look structural. Because there wasn't a hell of a lot in it. You thought, but if there's anyone thinks he's a selfish player, he did the most selfless act, and rubbed himself out for a few weeks, possibly even a few months by a game-saving tackle. It was just, as Nick, that just wraps it up. It was just totally inspiring, and I think it was one of those points within game. I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about it, but it's one of those points within games where I think we've got this now. Yeah. Once he did that tackle, but big congratulations to the Metricon Stadium as well. It's just such a wonderful ground to watch footy at. I don't have the greatest eyesight of all time, but I actually saw the drop kick and just immediately and it was totally over the other side of the ground. And I said to my wife straight away, "That's a drop kick. That's a penalty." And she said, "Oh, did you see that?" But that's he's a great viewing at the ground.
She says to you, "I know drop kicks quite well because I've been living one with for 15 or 20 years."
She's well accustomed.
She exactly knows what a drop kick is. Good evening, Marta, if you're watching the show. Okay, so Yeah, that's probably cost off, the good contributors. Eddie, I thought, was up and about. He only kicked one goal, of course, did an Eddie goal, but was getting lively up the ground and again, they're setting up the goals. I think he got a couple of points as well, but we want him to kick 2 goals a game. I think that's his return that we want out of him. But he makes things happen, as we know, in the forward line. I like his movement up there. He got up there and was an option when some of the big fellas weren't.
Yeah, he did a lot of leading at the ball. It did look like, particularly in that first half, that H and Levi were almost scared to run at it, and the only one running towards the ball carrier was Eddie. Marvelous game, like you just hit it on the head there. It's what he does and sets up for other people is why he's so valuable, even if he's not getting the goals himself. He could have had 4 or 5 or 6 the way he was going, just kept missing just these shots that, he would normally get under conditions.
Yep. Mel Wino. G'day, Mel. Thank you for joining us. This is an interesting point. Nunes and Cotter's on the wing, not Setters. He's not suited to the wing. Setters is your man. He's come in after a week from or being ill. Didn't really set the world on fire in the game against the Gold Coast. I think he sort of moved into got some sort of more midfield time as the game went. Where's he suited? Is he spot up for grabs this week?
Yeah, Mel's spot on there, and I think all supporters have been saying that he's not a wingman. We've given him a fair go as a wingman. He's terribly out of form. He's not seeing the ball right. He's not running the right directions, the right patterns. He needs to go back and have a spell in the twos and get some form. Not to write him off, because he's going to be a tremendous footballer for us and had a wonderful season last season. But he needs to get in the guts, find the football, find a bit of form, find a bit of touch more than anything, really. And CC that to Levi. And I'm not going to write him off either. He just needs to go back and find some pill and find some confidence, and he'll come storming back into the team.
Speaking of form, Dow, 1 kick. 70% game time. It's probably a sad situation that the young fellow is probably down on confidence. Obviously down on form, but that's that kind of return in that kind of level of footy is, for 1 kick. That's not really a healthy number, is it?
Well, I think Kennedy had more stats in him, didn't he? Or at least in the Supercoach points, and he was on for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a great look, but I got to thinking about him, and from what we saw in the pre-season games, you think this kid is going to set the world on fire, and just comes out to the big stage and just can't put it together. And I wonder if dropping him's going to do anything. Like, he'll go back to the twos and smash it. Does he really need to, for his own personal development, sticking the team aside for a moment, and you shouldn't, but for his own personal development, does he just need to stick in the ones and just get used to continuity of football and get used to the situation? I don't know. Just a thought I wanted to throw out there to everyone and get your thoughts, because he's copped a lot.
Yeah, it's like the old Nick Graham scenario, isn't it? Put him into the twos and he'd get 40 touches, bring him up to the ones, and he struggled. You'd have to say, from the perspective of the team and other players that are looking to get his spot, and there's a few lining up, that you've got to have that, unfortunately, hard-nosed mentality and come to a point where you say, look, you're not in form. You've just got to go back there and continue to work hard. It's not the end of your career. It's not the end of your time at Carlton, but you just got to work hard. Something is going amiss. To get 1 kick in 67 minutes of footy, something's amiss. He's not finding it. He's not working hard enough. I haven't got the answer. But I think for the good of the team and the fact that we need to win games of footy, you've got to, and that's why you drop players. You drop them to go back and get a kick and get touch and get form. Some players go back and sulk and think, I'm better than this. Some players
O'Brien
syndrome. Say that again.
The O'Brien syndrome.
Some players go back and smash it out and play like an AFL footballer should, and they get back in form and they get back in the team. that's to me what he needs to do. You can't. There's only so many times you can give that player that opportunity to get and do what he needs to do.
He's had 4 games. Yeah, you're right. He's had 4. You're right. He's had 4 games. So maybe that's it. We all can't wait to see Stocker out there, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is the way.
I'm all for developing the kids too, but also what does it say to the kids that are busting a gut in the twos, playing really well and not getting rewarded when you've got players getting 1 kick? So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, and it's a harsh game, footy, and for me, it's just you've just got to go back and work hard. Simple as that. We know the likes of Sam Walsh. The reason why he gets his touches because he works hard. Everyone says how hard he works and how fit he is. Yeah. Dowie's got the perfect person to look to over his shoulder every time he goes to training.
Yep, absolutely. And Andrew Lake come up with a great point when we're talking off air during the week about Fogarty and how he was such a fan of Fogarty during his junior career, and I asked him of him during his junior career, not only because of his skill level, because he worked his butt off both forward and back. Now I'd watched Dow's game all that, but I wonder if that's it, if he's just running forward and not doing the things that are required him to put him in the position to get the pill. I don't know. I didn't watch him close enough, and if anyone did, I'd like to know your opinion on that. Yep.
I'd like to bring up a really good point that Heath Buck makes. Thanks for joining us, Bucky. And that's, and he's put 2 words down there, selection integrity. That's something that Carlton, I don't think, have had for many a long time. Players have been picked on their names and maybe their previous accolades or what they've done. And I think that's contributed to a lot of our development. I think it's contributed to a lot of our losses. That players are just getting picked because of their name. They need to perform. It's like the way that the Australian selectors pick the cricket team. They pick them on names. Blokes batting at 90 in their state squad, and they're picking blokes that are going getting ducks week in, week out. It's an issue that Carlton have, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. I think not. Just as a sort of an aside for that, not only the name but the draft pick number has a lot to do with it as well.
Could do. And maybe Setterfield was one of those players too. Coming in after an illness, coming straight back into the side. Did he necessarily justify coming straight back in when there was a couple of players that had playing okay in the twos that may have justified getting a game? What does it say to those players, like I said, who do bust their gut and aren't getting a call? And we said it. I said it a few weeks ago. We need to get ruthless. We just can't pussyfoot around, and you're not going to develop players by keeping them play in the ones and they're just getting 1 or 2 kicks. That's going to have the opposite effect, I think, of less confidence going down, and especially not earning it.
Yeah, and Robert's just completely wrapped it up there. If you want to play finals, you can't have passages. Simple as that.
That's it. There's it's not a game of making friends. It's a game of winning footy games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this way. And I think that the same of all players. I'm a big fan of Levi Casbolt, but I think Levi should have been potentially in the team last week or the week before. Maybe they're saying and justifying that they haven't got many options in terms of a backup ruckman. Fair enough. Can Levi play in form? Is he still playing a role of getting up ground? Yes, he is. But again, it's also sometimes a numbers games and the goal and goal games. And I think he's probably, he'll probably make way for our $1 million recruit Mitch McMuffin this weekend.
Yeah, could well do. He's been doing all right, and just on a similar vein, it's such a shame for Omac. He's out for a few months now with a back problem, so that could be really difficult for him to find his feet back in AFL again. But yeah, Matt Champion, it does look like this out on the ground with Dow, that he does look apprehensive. He doesn't. it looks like he doesn't feel confident within himself that he's worthy at that level. And, maybe it's because he reads too many social pages and sees a vitriol slammed at him. I don't know. But I do agree with that. But changing tack a little, Sam McDonald, how far is Kemp and Stocker? Kemp is still injured, and I noticed Andrew Russell said he still needs a really good 5 or 6 weeks of conditioning to be up to AFL standard, and then you would probably see him come through the twos for a few weeks. So, definitely not this side of the break. I would say late in the season, I would think. And Stocker's, he's fit and firing. I didn't see the seconds game, but he didn't seem to feature too prominently in the write up. So maybe he's not ready to come in. But as Mal says here, the Ramsey played well. So who knows? Maybe it's he sort of leapfrogs a couple.
Yes, that's right. I still think that Tom Williamson should be tried in the role of what Dow's playing. I think we know he's going to be harder at the ball. We know he's got the run and fitness to go in and play a midfield role, whether it's a wing, and then we move Setterfield into the guts, rotating in the guts more. Kennedy will be a swap probably for JSOS, and that'll be great. He can play that half forward role too, we know, and he did it quite well last year, as well as another midfield option. We really missed Williams last week, I think. His ball movement and his delivery in the forward line has been something that's been quite prominent for him, so he'll come back in again.
And just before you go on, what often gets overlooked with Williams is that he's getting 10 or 11 clearances on top of doing what you just said.
Yep. Sorry,
go on.
That's true. And so I think that there'll be a few changes coming in against Port, and this is a winnable game for us. Every game is a winnable game. It's I think we've seen. Look at the results we're seeing all over the place. St Kilda have come back out of the dead from the dead. Thank goodness the Filth aren't going so well. We should have won that game in retrospect. And how stupid do we look now by not putting in the efforts we've done against Gold Coast and Freo that we could have taken that game out. So a very, very winnable game. MCG Saturday night. How good it will be to get another 4 points. That could really set our season up.
Yeah, just on that, just before we move on, I just had to have a great laugh at this from Mal. How is a dentist to do that with the Yeah. Brilliant.
He just hasn't got the stuff to back it up.
So a winnable game, yes. And look, I think that these next two games, all games are important, but these next two games really will sort us out. If we lose two, you're thinking, if we make finals, we're just going to scrape in. We're not really contenders. Yeah. If we win one, you think, we probably will make finals. And win two, it's game on. We are contenders at having a shot at it.
Yeah. And I think the games, the Freo game and the Gold Coast game came at perfect times. I would have liked us to dominate the Gold Coast game more than we did. I think that would have given us a lot more confidence. I'm interested to know what everyone's thoughts are, and maybe this will have an impact on them, and we'll see how much Russell has got them up and about. Whether the conditions in the Gold Coast may impact the way they back up against Port. It shouldn't. They should be conditioned enough to go back and be able to perform at another high level again. But I thought I'd put it out there.
Yeah, it's still 7 days, isn't it? It's a Saturday night game or Saturday evening game, isn't it?
Yeah. Mac Champion said they've got a few injuries themselves. Their young trio down. I think what's their I'm trying to think of a couple of their good players that they might have out this week. Rosie, I think, is out, and there's another one.
Butters is out, and also
Dersma.
Yeah. they're looking.
So that comes at good times for us, even though we shouldn't let those things dictate or guide us the way we approach a game. We should approach it head on and have a crack like we've been doing the last few weeks, knowing that we can match it with the best on our own dunghill essentially.
Yeah, and this is a good point by Andrew. We brought Williams to the club for the big games, and seeing one-on-one against, not one-on-one, but up against Ollie Wines would be enormous, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
and very, very likely.
Yep. Williams and Sard, obviously, I think Sard played another fantastic game against the Gold Coast. Love what he's doing. He's adding another element to our hardness and attack on the footy. I think he's been great, like I said, for SPS. So those two players, they're big players. We know that they're not going to take a back step, and they'll be really important for us. Yeah,
no doubt.
Okay, just want to go through a couple of, we've been through, I suppose, the stats from last weekend's game. As I said, it wasn't really pretty, but we got the job done. We got the 4 points. Who comes in for you, mate?
Yeah, it's probably more working the other way and say, all right, who comes out? And then finding replacements for those. Obviously Silvani's not going to make it.
Yep.
You would think that Dow would probably have to come out. Setterfield needs to go and find some form. Levi needs to go and find some form. But who do you bring in for him? Probably McGovern, as you said. I think either Ramsey or Stocker. If Ramsey's playing better at the moment, he might get a look in. But it's really tough, isn't it? But we've got so many injuries. It's hard to think of someone coming through. Cunningham is going to be right and ready to go, and sounds like they're building him up to have a game. I don't know. What's your thoughts of who you bring in?
Well, I said Cunningham probably won't play another game in the seniors last week, so I look like a bit of a dickhead, more of a dickhead than I actually am. If he comes straight into the side, that'd be embarrassing. A couple of people said, and Frank says, we might need to have an answer for Alia. We need a defensive forward for him. I reckon that's a good point. He's been really dominant for them since he's for the whole of the first 4 rounds. He's been playing some really good footy.
JSOS would have been perfect for him.
Sorry,
JSOS would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been too. Yeah. So Brett Class, we need Fev to teach us goal kicking. Tell me about it. I tweeted him on the weekend. I don't know if he didn't reply to me, but that would be a good result getting him down there. Just don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Andrew Lake says McGovern coming in. He played a full game in the twos last week, so he's played 3 quarters and another full game. Is there room for him and Levi up there?
Well, I think
given the fact that and Brendan Scott's just said what I was thinking as well about a backup big defender potentially and a second ruck.
Yeah, look, I'm going to say no, and I think the Gold Coast proved it. They didn't have one ruckman and yet still pushed us. We can probably get away with the one.
Yeah.
Look, again, not the end of his career, but go and find some touch, mate.
Yep. No, I think so. I think we can get away with that. Pitnet's fit enough to do it, and I think someone like McGovern or Kennedy can pinch it in there as well. As long as Harry stays up forward, I think I'll be happy there.
Actually, yeah, Kennedy's a good one for JSOS, and then McGovern in for Levi, and Chris Bryder, the obvious one. Yeah, Williams for Setterfield or Dow.
Chris Bryder also says, do we try and poach Ben McKay from North and play him as another ruck option forward? I actually thought we were playing. I actually thought Ben McKay was playing for us on Saturday night early on. He may have switched jumpers and gone up to the Gold Coast for a trip away. But a lot of people have said Ben McKay. I think he's one we should keep an eye on. Maybe we should turn him into a forward and have the 2 McKays down there. That'd be handy.
Confuse confuse the opposition, wouldn't it?
It
Which one am I going
would. It would. Can't play just run ruckman against two rucks, says Christian. Well, I think we can. I think in a lot of the modern game, the way that the game's going this year, I'm thinking that the ruck advantage or a good ruck advantage is not necessarily the be and end all. We're seeing players like that douchebag from Collingwood not get a touch for his $10 million a game he's on. The advantage to the ruck is not necessarily translating into centre clearances. So I think we can do that, and I think what we need to do is focus on our strength, which is a hard running, strong midfield, so I think that's where our strength lies.
Yeah. It's doing what the Gold Coast did to us, just reading the ball in the midfield and getting first use through the one-on-one contests, the body position.
Yep. No, I agree as well. Okay. Christian says, fair enough. We recall that Pito got towed up this corresponding game last year. Yes, he did. And we nearly won this game too, unfortunately, on the last kick. So with like I said, McGovern and potentially Kennedy pinch hitting, I think we can get away with it. We need firepower and we need goal kickers. And Kennedy McGovern gives that to us. Over and above what Levi's doing, and if it wasn't for his Greg Louganis trip dive last week, poor Levi wouldn't have even got a goal. That was diving is one of the worst things I hate on a footy field, and especially when my own team does it. And to see Levi do that, I wasn't really impressed. Yeah,
fair enough. And Scotty TDK. Similar, he's still got 3 or 4 weeks away from getting match fit and or conditioning, and then probably will run through the twos, I would think, for at least one go.
Yep. We touched about injuries before. Quickly, we'll just obviously mention the poor injury to Marchbank, who seems to have run over a black cat, walked under a ladder. What else has he done to get his bad luck? He's just so happy to be back, was all from all the reports, and then to have that to happen was just really, really sad.
It is. It's dreadful, and it's a cruel game, isn't it? Anthony Morabito, anyone, But on the real probably unpopular side, and on the real hard edge, hard nose sort of side, is do you persist with him?
I think he's young enough to persist with. I think we still look at him. I think he's got other possibilities more than just a running backman. I think he's potentially got some wing in him. I think we keep him.
Yeah.
Scotty makes another good point back to Pitternet. If he gets injured early, who rucks? If no Levi. And making Levi the sub is probably a good idea too.
But then he doesn't get to play twos and get form. So that's that's a double-edged sword, that one.
That is interesting point. Okay, so I think Williams comes in for Dow. That would be my change. I think Kennedy comes in for JSOS.
Mm-hmm.
I think McGovern comes in for Levi. That's hard to say, but I think that happens. And I think Williamson comes in for Setterfield.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Pretty harsh.
Yeah. From a winning team, to do 4 changes is but like what's been said in the chat, we can't have passengers.
Yeah.
These players back and finding some form.
And it'll test Teague, and I know that he's a coach that likes to back in his players, but how long can you back in play? You back in players for. He dropped Tommy Williamson after that game against Collingwood. that was, I thought, pretty harsh in terms of backing in players. But so maybe he's okay with sending people back to the twos for a message.
He was so scapegoated.
He was. Cripper seems to be back to Cripper again. Walshy's back to Walshy. Well, Walshy's doing Walshy things. This is a game I think it's going to go down to the wire. I don't want to go down to the wire like it did last year to the last kick, and then we lose it again. But I think this is really going to be a really tight game. Goal kicking and us getting on the scoreboard will be more important than ever. They've just got to get back and nail those shots. Every opportunity we get, we can't afford to lose.
Absolutely. That's what it is against the really good teams. Is you've got to put scoreboard pressure on them. If you don't do that, they'll just run all over you.
Yep. Looks like going to be a reasonable night in Melbourne Saturday night. Hopefully, I'll be going if I can get a leave pass from the boss. But have a couple of quiet ones there. If anyone's going, look us up and we'll get together and have a chat at the G. It'd be nice to get this one on the board. Port, we've had some good games against Port, and we match up really well with them, and a couple of good wins in recent times. So this is not beyond us, like I said earlier.
Yeah, look, it helps that it's at the G too. I think that'll suit us.
Yep, 100%. All right, mate. Doc's 100th game. Andrew Lake did a fantastic write-up, as he always does, in Blue Horizons about Doc's career. We know the adversity that he's gone through, and hopefully that gives Marchie a bit of comfort knowing that what Doc's been through in his recent times in terms of the Ricos. So good result for him getting 100 games on the board.
Yeah, fantastic. Hats off to him. He's been playing well this year too, and probably gone a little unnoticed.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a bit rusty, but he's back to his best. The defence is really starting to work really well together. The way we're structuring up, I'm loving too. That was really on show late against the Gold Coast. I was a bit surprised that they weren't taking it on as much as they should have, the Gold Coast. Maybe that was young and inexperienced. One of the commentators, I'm not sure it was, pretty much summed it up when they said, look, it's better to lose by 4 goals than go down, go down trying, losing by a couple. You might as well have a crack. So, but the work we were doing the setup behind the goals is really, really strong, and he's certainly led by Jonesy and Wienering, who are reading the ball so well. But Mr. Plough and Doc are playing some really good footy too.
Yeah, and we also haven't mentioned Mark Murphy yet either, who seemed to have his own pocket there for a while, and I just sort of got to thinking about that, and we must have really done our homework on the Suns and to see what their deficiencies are, because for him to time after time he had 30 metres to run, before an opponent got to him from any angle. We've obviously seen their weaknesses, and he just casually slotted out there and put some good stuff to our forwards. So hats off to him, particularly in that first half. He really showed their glaring weaknesses and holes.
Footy smarts too. He knows he's been there, done that. He knows where all the places to run to. He knows that when he gets the ball, we know he's going to do something with it too. So he's a real. I was a bit concerned with him at the start of the year. I've quite openly said that I think, and he'll acknowledge it as well, he's not being as physical as he was. Fair enough. He's got his role to play, and that's on the half forward. And his role is to stay out of the rough stuff. And when he gets hand on the footy, deliver it to who we've got down there, and he's doing that job. So while he continues to do that job and he's setting up our goals, that's fantastic.
Yep.
And maybe that's going to get him another year. Be nice for him if he continued to playing that specialist half forward role.
Yep. So a lovely segue into what's happened in the last couple of days, which was the the possibility of Cade Simpson returning to football. What was your thoughts on that? And would you have him back at Carlton?
I'll open that one up to the audience too. My reaction was initially I said no, don't do it. I never contemplated that Carlton would get him, and that I don't think that's going to happen in a million years. But my initial reaction was it would be so hard to see him, in an opposition jumper. And then you settle down and you think to yourself, well, look at the personal nature of the guy. He's a footy head. All his life has been footy. He's fit still. He thinks he's got stuff left in the tank. If he personally wants to have a crack at something, then I wouldn't begrudge it. It won't be at Carlton. We can pretty much rule that out 100%. So good luck to him if he does. It'll be hard to watch him in another Guernsey, but you'd never begrudge him from his personal ambition of getting out there and continue to play footy because he only retired once.
Yeah. Look, I wish him the best of luck too. I think if he does go through, he's only got a half a season left in him. So sort of like really, what's the point? But if he wants to do it, go and do it. For me, not at Carlton. I think we've moved on from that. We've got that many players who can play that role now. Nick Newman's still got to come back. Willow's not in the seniors. We've got plenty of players to bring up through that area. So it wouldn't be at Carlton. But if he went to the Gold Coast and marshalled a few of them up there and taught them how to play a bit of defence, good luck to him. Good on him.
Yep, and Andrew, you just noted something I was also about to say too, and that he would have been a really good opportunity to rookie him as a 23rd man. I don't think he would have cost us anything. He would have been there, as a bit of a backup if something happened to the likes of Plowman or Doherty. I can't see that happening now.
Yeah, and this is the point that I wanted to bring up too, and Brendan's hit it right on the head. It was more of a throwaway line. The media have beat it up. He said it on the Dill and Friends podcast, which is a very jocular, not exactly a newsworthy sort of place. As good as it is, it's not really the headline breaking sort of podcast.
Good for Dill and his ratings to get a bit of coverage like that, and maybe slip Simmo a couple of bucks to try and make a nice statement. But I listened to it. I thought maybe it wasn't such a throwaway line. I think in his heart he was potentially putting going fishing and just letting it go out there to say, okay, well, there might be someone that might think about it, and now clubs are talking about it, whether it was a throwaway line or not. Maybe fair enough. Look, I didn't listen to the podcast, but that was my immediate reaction. Is look at the outlet, but it also he might just be portraying his feelings of disappointment of not going on another season with Carlton as well. I'm making a comeback for the Arid Eagles this year, so maybe there's life, there's hope. Well, COVID's given me a good excuse to get my body right. Unfortunately, it's gone out too much, but the rest has done me good. Yeah,
well, good luck to you.
We might have to get a live camera crew down there. That'll be the funniest thing you'll ever see on Carlton Live, is me running around on the footy field. or should I say limping around?
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry we were late this evening. We won't let that happen again. I'm sure we will let it happen again. Johnny was late because he was at the pub, but that's all good. Saturday night, Port. Let us finish off with your predictions. Johnny, what do you think will happen? Give us your thoughts and give us a result for the game.
I think it's a game that we're going to put a bit of a stamp on. I think we will be absolutely itching to, and I reckon we will win by 18 points.
Very nice. That'd be good. Yeah, you made a good point. I think putting a stamp on it would be really, really nice. The boys seeing themselves in the 8 might give them a bit of a boost in confidence, and again those 2 wins, knowing that how good winning feels and how, that they know how intense that they need to play. Seeing JSOS on the sidelines, watching, I hope will also give them a bit of a incentive to get in there and go hard as what he's been doing. I think that, I hope that they continue, their intensity and their pressure. And I think if they do, it'll be a close one, and probably only a kick or two in it.
Yeah, I think we're sick of the close finishes. That's why I think we're going to put a bit of a stamp on it, make a bit of a statement this game.
Yeah, maybe Newsy can kick the goal on the siren. That'd be something new. Nick Kiscanetti says Blues by 3 points. Blues by 5, says Christian Chapcoon. Walsh to kick the sealer just for our mate Kane.
Yeah, I did like that.
Cooper needs to take on the game and bring in our fringe player, says Anthony Walsh.
He really did that with Freo game, didn't he? He sort of brought everyone on board. Yes, players, supporters, media, everyone came with him at the Freo game. He was a little bit hampered, a tiny bit hampered with the Gold Coast game because their midfielders did look after him a bit. You've
noticed Cripper sneaking forward a little bit more?
Yeah, and I also noticed how often he was blocked as well. If that was a key forward, with a bigger name as a key forward, instant free kick.
Yep. Andrew Lake, wouldn't we love to see this? Eddie Betts looks on the verge of a special game. Blues by 15 points. You're right, mate. He's just getting his hands on it. He's having some shots. I'd love to see him get on the hold of it. He's the spring's back there. He's tried a couple of. He's got goal of the year at the minute, or maybe second at the moment for goal of the year, but he might be having a crack going out in a high for another mark of the year. I'd love to him to come in and kick four goals and have a big impact. That'll be really, really special. That'll get us around. You know yourself. I'm sure you heard the roar in the crowd when Eddie kicked that special goal. How it gets everyone up and about. So it'll get the other players up and about too.
Yeah. Look, he was only just a nifter each side of the post of getting 4 or 5 on the weekend. So it's definitely possible.
It's definitely possible. Vicky Ann Purcell, good evening to you, my friend. Blues by 18, says Vicky Ann, to match your prediction, Johnny. Harry on fire. Cripper centre half forward. Gov back up the pit. Mackay 7 to 9 goals. Eddie keep his off the pill work rate up, plus 35 goals. Blues by 19 points, says Scotty Nolan.
Yeah, good wrap up.
Yep, that'd be very, very nice. Very nice. Brett Clason says, I'm calling if he plays, he kicks 5. Harry 8 or 9. Whoa, nice work. Everyone's up and about on the big Harry train.
Yeah, well, he had a pretty dirty day, didn't he? So, he'll be looking to make a strong statement.
He will indeed. All right. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to our special guest from Manchester tonight. Just as we know, mate, a global show. Who else? Who else knows where we're going? Anyone's from Antarctica tuning in? You never know. Thank you to the guys last night on their special show. We love to see Frank and Simone doing their stuff on Monday nights. It's good fun. Look us up Saturday night. You can shout me some beers. All my fans, I'll sign some autographs, and we'll come home with a win.
Yeah, great stuff. Hopefully, Thursday as well. You look out for the Heatley end, and those guys will be back on as well.
Fantastic. Good night, everyone. See you soon. Thank you, Johnny.
All right, cheers, mate. See ya.